Lighting needs to be on fleek. Melanin poppin'. What is up, shazwiyt? What is up, everybody?
Yeah.
It's your boy Shazwiyt, and welcome back to another video. Thank you for joining me yet again, and thank you so much for your continued support. If you're new to this channel and you're clicking on me for the very first time, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also turn on that post notification button so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. With that being said, let's get straight into today's content. Let's go. Okay, guys, so today, as you can tell by the title of today's video, we're going to be talking about Michael Jackson, but we're going to be talking about bad stuff related to Michael Jackson, okay? The most controversial thing related to him as a person, which was his rape allegations, okay? We're going to be getting into all of that, talking about Leaving Neverland. I want to make sure this video is as concise and short as possible. Don't want to drag it out and make it too long. So if you feel like I'm talking too fast, it's because I want to make sure that I get all the points out across and don't take up too much of your time. So if you're watching this right now, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule or whatever schedule you have. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing all right. I'm just making it. There's stuff that, you know, happened to me that some people might be like, I don't know why you're sad right now, whatever it is. But it's like, nah, I mean, for me, it's very hard to be sad and like stay sad or angry. I don't know, I just can't. I just can't like bind with negative energy for a while. I can. It's just something I'll feel for a second, and then next thing you know, I'm back to being the happy person. You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, you're going through this, but what are you doing to avoid that? What steps are you taking going forward? Do you know what I mean? Because time only knows to go forward. You know? Since the beginning. Stevie Wonder. If you know the song, you know the song. So let's get into it, guys. So Michael Jackson, who is without a doubt the greatest entertainer who ever lived, even though his professional life was incredible and he sold hundreds of millions of records, was extremely wealthy, was loved by all, you know, a lot of people, and a lot of other artists look up to him and stuff like that, and was the most awarded artist of all time. The list goes on. Even though, you know, he had an incredible professional life, personally, he struggled with a lot. There was these issues of his vitiligo, how his skin kept getting lighter, and, you know, and the other issue was, you know, the rape allegations, the child abuse allegations, sexual abuse. Yeah, MJ never had a good relationship with the press. And it's pretty sad because I remember talking about it in the previous, like, in one of the videos where I was doing a review of Thriller. I talked about how MJ wanted an interview from Rolling Stone magazine, and they didn't want to give it to him because they didn't like see him going far or whatever. And he said that, well, I'm gonna make it one day and I'm gonna be big and I don't care, I'm gonna get that interview, you know what I mean? And now the press went from like loving him, well, first of all, ignoring him, to loving him, to like hating on him and calling him Wacko Jacko and all these other crazy names they used to call him in the 90s. And, you know, when how they would like highlight every single like weird thing he would do. Do you guys remember the oxygen tank that he was in? Like how he was in that sort of tank thing, and they said, oh, he's like an alien, or like he's in an oxygen tank or something. People come up with the craziest things. They came up with the craziest things about him. But I love MJ. I've always been a fan of MJ. You guys know that. So MJ, as you know, or those of you who may not know, was accused on multiple counts of child sexual assault, child, you know, molestation charges, and these investigations and allegations went on for basically 25 years. So basically since 1993 is when the first allegation was made. And so I'm gonna go through the timeline of events of everything so that you guys are caught up to speed on what's happening, because the allegations are still continuing on to today with Leaving Neverland, the documentary that came out this year. People don't want to let shit go. Wait, actually, scratch that I ever said that, because if I say let shit go, it means that I'm acknowledging that MJ did something. And let me get out of the way a disclaimer: he's innocent. To me, he's innocent, but I'll get into why I feel that way. First, let's get into the timeline of events, because it's important that we're caught up to speed about what happened, the people involved, blah blah blah. Now, I'm not going to get into all of the details because if I do that, this will be like a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hour video. And obviously, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to briefly touch all the main points so that you guys have an idea of what happened. So, in early 1992, so this starts off, so that's 26 years ago. No, 23 years ago. No, 27 years ago. Oh my gosh, sorry, math. Ugh. 27 years ago, in early 1992, MJ meets Jordan Chandler, who is a 12-year-old boy who he befriended along with his family since his dad helped MJ in a car trouble that he had. So Michael Jackson was stuck on a motorway in LA, on the highway somewhere, and so he called this car service company to come help him tow his car and whatnot. So the dude who owns this company was gonna come and like help MJ with his car. When he found out who the person was who made the call, that it was MJ, he was a huge fan, and through conversations with MJ befriended this man and ended up befriending this man's family. So he became very close to the family, became close to the man, his wife, and their children. And Jordan Chandler is one of those two. I think they have a daughter, and then there was Jordan, who was 12 at the time. So then in May of 1993, those are when the first reports of MJ befriending Chandler came into the public. So when MJ befriended this family, no one knew. It was a secretive thing that, that just happened. And it wasn't even that he wanted to make it a secret. He just happened to be friends with them. And if people didn't find out, sure. It's not like he wanted to make a public record. No one goes out and says, well, I'm friends with this person. No. If you find out, sure. If you don't, whatever. So May 1993 is when the public then found out about him befriending this family and the children of the parents. Then in August of 1993 is when this whole debacle craziness started. That's when it went from 0 to 100 quick. So in August of 1993, Jordan Chandler accuses Michael Jackson of sexual assault. He says that there was oral sex involved and masturbation, which you will see are the two things, especially masturbation, is what comes up in the allegations posed by all the other boys who claimed Michael abused them. So it's a repeating pattern, which I find really interesting. Anyway, so in September 1993, Chandler's parents filed a lawsuit against MJ. In December, so that was in September of 1993. In December of 1993, a former maid makes allegations while Michael Jackson is strip searched. So her name is Blancia Francia. Yeah, Blancia Francia, I think. And then in January of 1994, Michael Jackson settles the case against the Chandlers. And the prosecutor rules that there is no evidence to show that the Chandler family tried to extort MJ. So basically no evidence that they were doing this for the money. A settlement of $20 million was settled, ending the lawsuit, which I find suspicious because no amount of money is justice for my child being raped or sexually assaulted in any way. I don't care how much money you will give for the child. When it's my child or someone else's child, justice must be served. You must go to jail. You must be punished for your actions. Money doesn't solve everything, people. It really doesn't. That's why even rich people get depressed too, okay? Everyone knows that. So, in February of 2003, so jumping nearly a decade later, the documentary Living with Michael Jackson comes out. And this was done by journalist Martin Bashir, who visited Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch. So MJ's huge, humongous house and estate was called the Neverland Ranch. And he called it the Neverland Ranch because since MJ loved kids so much and his childhood was basically stolen from him and he never really had a childhood, he called this place the Neverland, which is inspired by Peter Pan, where they go to Neverland, a place where children never grow up and get to be children and be joyful and youthful for an eternity. So yeah, that's what it was all about. And so in the interview, obviously, Martin asked MJ about the sexual allegations and all that stuff. MJ says that he slept on the floor while various children would come into his house and sleep on the bed. It was not sexual, and the kids that he mentioned examples were the Culkin, so Macaulay Culkin, the famous child star of the 90s, who was in Home Alone. And then there was this boy, so Culkin and his sister would sleep at the place because I'm just friends with that family, befriended a lot of people. Then there was this boy called Arviso, who slept on the bed too. While MJ slept on the floor, and Arviso was a cancer patient who MJ befriended, and Arviso sent a letter to MJ saying, "I would love to see you in case I die," that sort of thing. And MJ, like, accepted the invitation, and he went to go see him. So sweet. Okay, now in 2004, a grand jury indicts Michael Jackson, and so the trial, is now then set forth. And so in 2005, a year later, is when the trial officially began. Michael Jackson's criminal trial began in 2005. Arviso, now 14 years old, alleges that Michael Jackson masturbated him. You see the repeating pattern that I was saying? Same thing. His brother claims to have witnessed this. Blanca Francia, the same housemaid who spoke out in 1993, testifies to seeing Michael Jackson shower naked with Wade Robson, okay, who is one of the men in the Leaving Neverland documentary. Her son claims, so the son of Blanca, the former housemaid, her son claims to have been molested on 3 occasions by Michael Jackson between the ages of 7 and 10 years old. Wade Robson testifies to sleeping at Michael Jackson's ranch more than 20 times and says he was never abused. On the 14th of June, the jury finds Michael Jackson not guilty on all counts, and Arviso's account timeline also did not fit. So hence he was found. MJ was found not guilty. In 2013, now 8 years later, Wade Robson sues Michael Jackson's estate, so that's when the tables have turned now. The following year, in 2014, James Safechuck, who is the other man in the Leaving Neverland documentary, he comes forward and testifies against Michael Jackson, even though he previously testified for MJ2, like Wade Robson did. And then from 2015 to 2017, Robson and Safechuck's lawsuits are dismissed because there's no base or evidence or foundation for it. Like there was no reason for even it to be there. Then in 2019, earlier this year, the Leaving Neverland documentary comes out, produced by HBO and directed by Dan Reed. So that's basically the timeline of events that happened over the course of 25 years. And that's still comes, happening today. 26 years. And so what I wanted to do was talk about the Leaving Neverland documentary and give my thoughts on that, and basically give you guys my thoughts on why I feel like MJ is innocent, but also I'm trying to be objective. I'm not some delusional Michael Jackson fan who absolutely believes that he was absolutely innocent, whatever, just because I'm a fan. But it's because there are 2 sides here. Or maybe 3 sides. I don't know. Let's say there are 3 sides. Let's say it's a triangle. You have, on one side, you have MJ, the evidence that supports MJ, right? So on one side you have the evidence that supports MJ. On the other side, you have the evidence that is not in favor of MJ, that goes against him, that proves or supports the fact that he did sexually assault these children. Then in the middle, you have the people who don't really care, who don't really know what to think, because they have that whole mentality of I was never there, I don't know. People can say what they want to say, all of this stuff, but at the end of the day, the only people that truly know what happened are MJ and these kids and God. You know what I mean? And it's a he said, she said type of situation. And I agree. Where do I fall on that line? I think MJ is innocent. I fall there, but I have the same mentality that the people in the middle have. The people who probably some of you are I was never there, so I can't really know. Even me, I was never there. All of us, we all weren't there. The only people who were actually there were MJ and these kids. And they know what happened. Now, are they lying about it? Yes, I do believe they do. Yes, they may have said, oh, we're not doing this for monetary gain or whatever, but really, with the amount of money that you were suing for and that you happen to like defend in the past, and that it just doesn't make sense to me. So the Leaving Neverland documentary, as you heard, was 4 hours. Literally the most exhausting thing I've ever watched. Was so graphic. And so what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to redo some messages that I sent to a friend, and we're having a debate, little debate conversation, basically a debate about the documentary. So my friend, I won't say her name, but I call her Momo. Momo, you know who you are if you're watching this. She hates it when I call her Momo. But basically, me and my friend Momo, we were talking about this. And yeah, so I'm going to read you the text that I sent her. I'm not going to read what she said. She obviously defends Michael. Is against Michael and believes the Jimmy and Wade, but I don't. I'm against that and support Michael all the way. So, this is what I told her. I said, I've been taking notes of different things. I'll say the director did a really good job in the way he set up the story, and the descriptions are just disgusting. It was very graphic. But as graphic and visceral as it is, along with the bits of evidence presented, I have to remember that this is all told from one side. But it's a lot. So she went on to say that, for me, I would have thought it was all a big hoax, but nobody is that good of an actor. They don't just say what Michael did, they describe emotions that you can only understand if you've been sexually assaulted for long periods of time, the look of horror on their faces when they describe not only physical acts but conversations. Also, I thought that Safe Chuck may have been his first attempt at raping children, which you can see not only the fact of how long he stayed, but that Michael kept having sex with them well into his teen years. He kept calling, he tried that wedding ceremony, but none of the other kids that happened to them. It also, to me, seems like a lot of work to get your own mother to admit to her own negligence that got her son raped. Okay, I responded to my friend Momo by saying, I wouldn't necessarily say looks of horror. In fact, there was never a time when they really showed looks of disgust. Like when Safechuk described his first sexual experience in Paris, when Michael Jackson masturbated him, he actually smiled and chuckled. And this is true, I'm not lying. I would have expected for him to show some form of disgust. She said he did show disgust, and then I was like, I don't think smiling and chuckling is showing disgust. And then she said he wasn't laughing like it's normal, he's chuckling in discomfort. Anyway, so yeah. And then I went on to say that, okay, so this was when I was just halfway through part 2. Yeah, because they're each 2 hours long, so I was an hour into part 2, which is halfway. I said, but so far, to be honest, it just sounds a bit ludicrous to me. Like James claiming that Michael married women so that he wouldn't appear to be an abuser. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Also, what didn't make sense to me was when Wade was talking about the last sexual encounter he had with Michael Jackson at 16, how later on he says MJ called him over to ask about the underwear with blood. Where would the blood have come from? Penetration could bring cum, sperm, but not blood. Basically seminal fluid, but not blood. It sounds messy to me. And then she went on to say, well, Lisa Marie says they never had sex, and the maid that had a diary wherein his agenda he wrote about taking or crying Elvis's music. He married so he wouldn't seem like much of a loner, and got married after the first trial. Penetration in the ass brings blood because the dick is not supposed to go up there. And she went on to talk about how MJ bought the Beatles catalog and wanted to get Elvis Presley's catalog, so he married Lisa Marie Presley just for music, which is absolutely stupid. And if you believe that you are gullible as fuck. That does not make sense to me. Anyway, so the last song message that I'm going to read to you guys, I wrote this really long message to my friend Momo after I finally finished the entire documentary, both part 1 and 2. There's also an interview these men did, including the director, so Jimmy Wade and the director Dan Reed, they did with Oprah, but I didn't really bother watching. I watched a little bit of it, but it was so cringe, honestly. Anyway, so this is what I said. Just finished part 2. Okay, my thoughts. First First of all, Lisa Marie never said her and MJ never had sex. In fact, I read the article you read, and clearly you didn't finish reading it because towards the end of it, in an interview, when asked about her sex life with Michael Jackson, Lisa replied, "Yes, we did have sex." That made Adrian McManus didn't even have proof of the so-called notes he found where Jackson talked about this list or catalog. And if you honestly think you would marry her just to get a bunch of songs, then clearly you believe anything. Secondly, Safe Chuck's mom's reaction to MJ dying was disheartening and so petty. She basically said, "Yes, I'm happy he fucking died." She said something like that. She literally said she was happy he was dead. Yeah. Like really, SMH, moving on. MJ's lawyer Thomas Mazurow really summed things up well when Wade came out in 2013 saying Wade was subjected to Ron, a really good tough prosecutor. Wade wouldn't waver. He wasn't adamant. He wasn't touched. Safe Chuck, although he refused to testify, said the same thing. So to suddenly come back years later and to say we want millions of dollars, we were brainwashed, we had repressed memories, we didn't face the facts, we didn't deal with reality, I just find very, very suspicious. And also, freaking Chantel can't say people didn't separate Michael the man and the human being who hurt people and abused children. Excuse me, guys. When she herself didn't even have that option until Wade told her MJ abused him. She was clueless as well as we all were. She wasn't even that close to MJ herself. I also think that this entire documentary is financially motivated because Wade filed a $1.5 billion lawsuit in 2013, but was dismissed by the court as he was caught lying repeatedly in the dismissed litigations. Wade saw that he wasn't going to be able to get any money from the estate, so what he does do is makes this documentary, which is on HBO, which will obviously generate a lot of money for the network based off of views. So obviously, my friend Momo went on to defend and, defend herself and make her claims, but all of the stuff she's saying was debunked. There are even videos where stuff was debunked. Excuse me, guys. And, and what I also didn't like about the documentary, what I found out watching YouTube videos of various YouTubers who had evidence that debunks all of the claims by Wade and Jimmy and James Safechuck, was that apparently Michael Jackson set Wade Robson up with his niece. I forgot her name, but they dated. And that's something that Wade didn't mention in the documentary, that not only was he close to MJ, but he actually met MJ's family and actually dated Michael Jackson's niece, who is the same age as Wade. And they were close. They freaking dated boyfriend and girlfriend. So that's something that he did not mention. And they definitely dated. Judging by the fact that, Wade, is into, non-white girls because he's married to, this Asian woman, they have a cute baby, I could tell that he definitely, had that, was into a sister, you know what I mean? So, yeah. That's, I support MJ because it's as I was saying before, I just feel like there's more evidence that supports that MJ didn't do it than there is that supports that he did. I saw comments on YouTube talking about how, pedophiles get away with this kind of stuff all the time. Just because there was no evidence that was found doesn't mean that he didn't do it. And the thing is, that's true too, because there's nothing that would have stopped MJ from doing this. Was he able? Were there multiple opportunities for him to rape children and whatnot? Yes. But some of the kids, like Corey Feldman, Macaulay Culkin, etc., all defended MJ and said that during his time, he did not do anything to them. And years later, Macaulay Culkin and Corey Feldman still feel the exact same way and said that he never did anything to them. They're still very adamant about their opinion. But had Macaulay Culkin and Corey Feldman and all the other kids that defended Michael came forward today, now that they're in their 30s or 40s, and said that, oh, MJ actually did do something, it would have been a completely different story then. It would have been a completely different story because now it's a trend and I'm like, okay, maybe MJ did do something. But the fact that some kids say he never did anything and kids that, or one adults said that, he didn't do anything though they say that he did, it just does not add up. The timeline doesn't add up. The facts being put out, it's just, yeah. But at the end of the day, one thing that I will know, one thing that I do know is that the press tried for so long to destroy MJ and made character defamation and tried to make MJ not popular, but MJ is more popular than ever. His estate made even more money when he died. In fact, when he passed away, he became the best-selling artist of all time. There was a period of time, maybe months or a year or so or something, where he actually outsold the Beatles and outsold Elvis Presley for a brief period of time. And, it just speaks to, his influence. He's a legend. I love him. And we'll all love him, for what he did for the world of music. And, and he was an incredible person. So philanthropic, more philanthropic than any other entertainer. And he was amazing. Was he perfect? Absolutely not. Did he make mistakes? Absolutely did. Did he have the perfect life? No, he didn't. He had issues just like the rest of us. He was human. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me yet again. That's pretty much my opinion on that. Sorry for the coughing. That's pretty much my thoughts on that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next video coming out on Friday. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much, shazwiyt. Thank you so much for the support. For those of you that watch the video, like it. For all the new subs, old subs, everybody, thank you so much. Feel free to share this video and to share my channel if you want to. Thank you. Love you, shazwiyt, and I am clear. Bye.